why the world want me to cry?
Young people don't value freedom anymore. Video by Blackie Speaks, and I'm gonna tell you one thing. Don't speak for me on that. I value my freedom. We will do anything to stay out of cell. Time is one thing that you can't get back, and I refuse to waste it spending time in a box. Let's go ahead, let's dive right in.
Now, most of us wake up every day and don't even think about the fact that we can walk outside, go to the store, see our family, make plans, hit the gym, or decide that tomorrow we want to do something completely different. That is freedom. And the thing is, freedom doesn't feel dramatic. Most of the time, freedom feels normal.
I think people take it for granted because, especially if you ain't never been in jail or nothing like that, even though some people that have been in jail still take it for granted because some people end up going back. And you would think they would learn the first time, but that ain't the case with everybody. But yeah, man, it's just a common thing. Like, people seem to take it for granted just due to the fact that they don't realize what they have until they lose it, is what I'm trying to say.
Waking up and having options. And I think when you're young especially, it's easy to feel like that freedom is guaranteed, like it's always going to be there. But some decisions don't just create problems. Some decisions take your freedom away. And some of the stories we've been talking about over the last few weeks have had me thinking about just that. A lot of young people don't realize how valuable their freedom is until they're watching it get taken away. And that might sound obvious, but a lot of people do not live like it is obvious. Because if they did, they would not risk their freedom over moments that were never worth it. And yes, I'm talking about Carmelo Anthony. But I don't want this video to turn into a debate about one case. We'll get to that in a second though. Before we go there, I want to paint a picture with this clip right here.
Let me out, bro.
I remember this video right here. I've seen this video before. This dude started tripping because he was being, I guess, interrogated, or they had him locked up in the interrogation room and all that. Boy started tripping. Everything started hitting him at once he realized, like, this is about to be your life. You know what I'm saying? His parents should have took him to Beyond Scared straight. He probably wouldn't be in here.
Out, bro. Let me out!
So that was Sean Gathright, one of the young men convicted in the murder of Florida rapper Julio Fulio. And that story became a major conversation in hip-hop and even on mainstream.
I'm back. Sorry for the intermission.
Social media after the trial wrapped up, not just because a rapper lost his life, but because of how many young people got involved in something so serious that now their lives are basically over as they knew it. And one of the moments from that case that really stuck with me came during the penalty phase. An ex-warden testified in favor of Sean Gathright receiving life in prison instead of the death penalty, and the clip ended up going viral because of how cold the reasoning sounded. He basically made the argument that if Sean spent the rest of his life in prison, the prison system could still use his labor. He used the phrase sweat equity. When you really think about it, that is a crazy position to be in, because now the conversation around your life is not about what college you're going to go to, what career you're going to build, what trip you're planning for. The conversation becomes whether your life should end completely or whether you should stay alive so the prison system can get the labor out of you for the rest.
That's crazy, bro. Like, do you understand just like how much you just devalue yourself when you get locked up or you go in the cell? Like, look at this. They are determined whether or not you're even worth living in society right now. Like, let that sink in, bro. Like, that's crazy, bro. No cap, bro. And honestly, he said that he went from, instead of ending your life, you know what? I think you serve better just working for us. You just gonna be a slave, putting in sweat equity. That's basically what he's saying.
Life. And that is exactly what I mean when I say a lot of young people don't understand the value of freedom until it's gone. Now we're going to get into Sean's situation a little more, but we also have the Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf story. And I've already made my stance on that case clear. I already covered what happened, the verdict, the sentencing, and all that. So this video is not really a recap of the situation.
I didn't really get into this situation, mainly because I'm trying to refrain from all this racism like content that's being blasted all over the internet. When did it used to not be like this, bro? Like, at all, bro. And it's really exhausting just seeing it everywhere. So that's why I didn't cover over it. When I made that one video that blew up, did 15K views, it showed me how ignorant people actually are. So, yeah, we don't want that type of energy over here on this channel.
But regardless of where people stand on the case, I think most people can agree on one thing. When you look at where Carmelo is now, and you look at the fact that he was sentenced to 35 years in prison, whatever happened in that moment was not worth the rest of his freedom. And to me, that is a conversation that goes beyond just one case. Because when you think about freedom, it is one of those things that people don't appreciate until it's gone. I mean, even today I woke up, had a satisfying breakfast, worked on this video, went to the gym, came back, cleaned a little bit, did some laundry, and started planning for a trip next month.
Yeah, like I woke up early today, went to the grocery store, got my stuff ready for my meal preps and all that, and now I'm doing my reactions, and I'm gonna do a gaming video right after this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the fact that I even get to do that. It's just a blessing, bro. Real talk, man. And by the way, ZayTime X is the gaming channel. Y'all go tap in. You know what I'm saying? First video's already up over there. We doing our first playthrough today. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. You just gonna have to look, find out yourself.
Regular stuff, right? Nothing crazy. But that is freedom. The ability to wake up and decide what your day is gonna look like. The ability to just move around. The ability to work on something. The ability to make plans for the future. The ability to come home, close your door, and just exist in your own space. All of that feels normal until it gets taken away. And that's what it feels like a lot of young people don't understand in the moment. You see a lot of young people with their whole lives ahead of them, with time, options, and the chance to become somebody completely different. And then in one moment, the life they could have had is gone. Not because they had no future, but because they made one decision that took that future away. And here's the thing that I've been reflecting on. In life, there are two types of mistakes. A lot of mistakes you can actually come back from. You can make a bad decision, learn from it, grow up, mature, and still become a better person. And we've all done that. We've all had moments where we look back and think, I should have definitely not done that.
Yeah, that's the most common mistake right there. And then you got the mistakes to where it's like, yeah, there's no coming back from this shit.
That is not what I'm talking about in this video. I'm talking about the kind of decision where there is no normal life waiting on the other side. Taking somebody's life, getting involved in some type of situation that seriously injures another person, or simply surrounding yourself around people who've already decided they have nothing to lose. I'm talking about the kind of mistakes that can quite literally change the trajectory of your life in a negative way. And those are not regular type of mistakes. A lot of those types of mistakes you can't really come back from. And the crazy part is, the emotion that leads to those decisions does not even last. The anger goes away, the embarrassment goes away, the feeling of being disrespected goes away, but the damage stays. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You can make a permanent decision inside a temporary feeling, and the freedom you gave up does not just come back because you finally realize the moment was never worth it. That's why the Carmelo situation connects to this conversation so much. Although I think the young man Austin was the victim here, that is not the conversation that we're going to have right now. The point is this. Objectively speaking, that one action destroyed multiple lives. One person lost their life, and another person lost their freedom. That is what I mean when I say some young people don't value freedom until it's gone. Because I truly believe that if Carmelo could go back in time and see the full outcome before it happened, he probably would have never walked into that tent. He probably would have responded differently if he knew 35 years could be the outcome of that moment.
I do personally feel like he would have been better off just throwing hands. Cause I don't know why he decided to use that in response. Because throwing hands would have been it would have just been another school fight. Literally just like that, it would have just been another school fight. And I'm not picking sides here. But there's so many other options and outcomes that he could have done. You know what I'm saying? I should not be pausing right here. Bruh is looking crazy right here.
And here's the thing. This is not just about Carmelo. This is more of an observation about what seems to be happening around us. To be fair, people have been crashing out since the beginning of time. People, whether young or old, have always made bad decisions. People have always let anger, ego, pride, and every temporary emotion you could think of put them in situations they couldn't come back from. And maybe because everything is online now, we just see it more. Maybe because every case becomes a headline, every clip goes viral, and every tragedy becomes a social media debate. It feels like it is happening more than it actually is. But whether it's happening more, or we're just seeing it more, the pattern is still worth talking about. And that brings me back to Sean Gathright. because his situation is different from Carmelo's, but it still connects to the same bigger conversation. Sean was one of the young men connected to the Julio case, and that story became a major conversation in hip-hop and pop culture because of how serious it was, but also because the contrast between his background and his actions was so big. With Sean's story, it wasn't only about the crime itself, it was his background and how many calculated steps were taken before anything happened, because this was not just one random moment that came out of nowhere. During the trial, they even showed that he had allegedly screen recorded himself going back and forth between Julio's Instagram stories and Airbnb listings, trying to figure out where Julio was staying. So before they ever got to Tampa, there were already choices being made. They were watching, searching, connecting dots. There were so many chances to stop before everything went too far. This group of individuals then rode in 2 separate vehicles and traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa to carry out a murder. Very dark stuff. And from Jacksonville to Tampa, you're talking about around a 4-hour drive. 4 hours in a car, watching the miles go by, knowing what they were heading toward. So that means there were hours where somebody could have said, yo, this is stupid, I'm out, bruh. Hours where somebody could have thought about their family, their future, their freedom, and everything they're...
Shit, not even just hours, days. Ample amount of probably weeks too. You don't just come up with a plan like this in like 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? You gotta take your time to orchestrate this. Getting the bookings for the cars, the time frame, figure out where he's gonna be, the placement, the screen. Like, this takes some real deal like orchestrating right here
to throw away, but they still kept going and going and going. Eventually that would lead to Sean Gathright crying in court when he realized that his life was basically over after being involved in something that serious.
And see, look, niggas would have been better off at home just playing the game. Real talk. As much shit as a lot of people can say about the game sometimes, can it be a distraction if you're on it all the time? Yes, 100%. But this will keep you out of trouble. Real talk. This will keep you out of trouble. It'll keep money in your pocket if you only got like a select few games that you play. It can put money in your pocket if you do content. You know what I'm saying? Stay in the house, bro. Stay out the way. Straight like that. Simple, bro. Go home. Work. Shit. Play the game or something. I don't know, bro. Like... I don't know how I managed to incorporate the game to... It don't even matter.
About being smart in hindsight. And one of the coldest moments from the courtroom was when the prosecution asked him, were you remorseful as you were running back with that AR-15 in your hands? And his response was,
like I said, I just try to focus on today and moving forward.
And that
basically, no.
Right there says a lot. Because whether he wanted to remember it or not, the court remembered it. The evidence remembered it. The sentence remembered it. And that's the part a lot of young people, it feels like, just don't really understand. You don't get to erase a life-changing decision just because you don't want to think about it anymore. And I think there's something to be said about emotional self-control and how important that is in the world we live in right now. Because there are so many things pulling at people's emotions. Social media, disrespect, embarrassment, the need to fit in, the need to look like you belong somewhere. And if you're not mindful, you can get pulled into something that was never even meant for you.
Man, I don't even care about fitting in or nothing like that. I stay in my own lane, stay out the way. I hang around those who want to ride with me, bro. Everybody is not your friend, bro. Everybody don't got your best interest at heart. And you got to remember this, most importantly, that nobody is willing to do for you what you willing to do for yourself. So be mindful about who you keep in your circle and who you keep around you. You feel me? Because ultimately, you're going to end up just like bro right here.
On Gathwright's story, it seems like peer pressure played a major role. But underneath that, I think it was also an identity issue, or really a lack of identity. I mean, Sean was a young man who wasn't really even a street dude. And in a lot of these situations, especially when it comes to the YNs, that person is not even moving from a strong sense of who they actually are. They're moving from the fact that they do not know who they are. And when you're moving like that, it becomes almost automatic to attach yourself to things that start making choices for you. A group can make you feel accepted. A lifestyle can make you feel important. A reputation can make you feel protected. But after a while, you're not even moving like yourself anymore. You're moving like the version of you that the world around you created. And that is how your idea of respect starts getting twisted. Now respect becomes less about who you are and more about what you're willing to risk. And when respect becomes about risk, freedom becomes part of the price. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it is so important to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, somebody else will define you. And when somebody else defines you, they can also influence what you think you have to prove. And that's why this entire conversation is bigger than just one person or one case. At some point, we have to ask, what kind of culture is being created right in front of us? What kind of culture makes a young person feel like a few seconds of looking tough is worth more than the rest of their freedom? Because make no mistake, that is the trade. Ego for freedom, a moment for a lifetime. And that's why this whole idea of looking tough is so dangerous. Because at the end of the day, and let me know what you think, but I think it's better to be a free man who felt disrespected than a prisoner who proved a point. It's been said that the cemetery is full of tough guys. And that is basically another way of saying a lot of people died trying to prove they were not somebody to play with. And at some point you have to ask yourself if looking like you can't be tested is worth not being here. And that's where the Carmelo Anthony situation connects.
And I'm not gonna lie, trying to prove that you can't be tested leads to people ultimately wanting to test you. Like, I just feel like that's just all too common with this type of persona and lifestyle. Because when you try to prove so hard that, you know what I'm saying, nobody can rock with you, like fuck with you or no shit like that, or that you are not to be played with, not to be tested with, that invites that type of energy around. You know what I'm saying? To where people want to see if you really about what you're talking about. Are you really going to stand on what you're saying? Like, it's just not worth it.
One of the theories people had, and I want to
because you will meet somebody that's like, you might be able to take it far, but then somebody else might be willing to go even further than that. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's both stupid.
This is speculation based on the information we have, is that disrespect played a major role. Now, from what we know, Austin put hands on him first, so there was a physical element to it. But even then, you have to ask yourself, if a knife to the chest is a reasonable response to that moment. Personally, I don't think it was. Again, we don't know exactly what was going through his mind. I'm not here to discuss that, but the theory is that feeling disrespected because Austin touched him and challenged played a role in what happened. Now, whether that is true in this specific case or not, it points to a bigger pattern we keep seeing. People are losing control of themselves in moments that were never worth their future. And if you don't have control of yourself in those moments, someone else will eventually have control over your life. And that's why self-control is so important. Because the strongest thing you can do is not react. And I think walking away is usually the best option when you are dealing with other people. Because most situations can be solved with a simple, my bad, I'm sorry, or I was wrong. And here's the hard part. Even if you believe that you are right, sometimes saying you're sorry regardless is the smart thing to do.
Yeah, bro, it's about picking your battle. Some fights are not worth fighting at the end of it. You don't have to fight all the time. You know what I'm saying? Go for the analytical approach. The analytical, most logical thing to do usually ends up being the best thing to do. Same thing when it comes to like having a gun. Like anybody can have a gun. Everybody has guns. But I don't care what you say. I never want to get to the point to where I have to take somebody's life. And I will hope that you wouldn't want to either. Because ultimately, I don't want to ever have to use it. But in the event of me having to use it is when, you know, it's time to do what I got to do. That's how I see it.
Are not that serious anyway. At least not to normal people. Because there are certain kind of people who move through life like every small situation.
And I'm pretty sure that most people want to live a peaceful life anyway. Unless you want to live like you in the trenches and in the slums all day fighting for your life. That's such a survivor mindset. I could never.
Is a test. Every disagreement is disrespect. Every correction is humiliation. Every moment becomes something they have to prove themselves in. And that is where the crash out conversation comes in. We've talked about this before on my Why and Mindset video. But nowadays, crashing out is almost treated like a personality trait. People carry this term like a badge of honor, like it means you're not the one to be played with. I'm standing on business, bruh. Some of y'all are not standing on business. You're standing in the middle of the street having an emotional episode and calling that principles. And that is the part we have to be honest about. A lot of what people call crashing out is really just a lack of emotional self-control, dressed up as
Yeah, it just shows that when it comes to your emotional intelligence, you just really come off as somebody who don't got control of over their emotions. You look immature. You look like you don't know how to handle yourself whenever you just act out like that. Have some self-control, bro. You know what I'm saying? And not just that, crashing out, it's not very attractive either. No matter what gender it comes from. You feel me? Cause I'd be damned if I get into some shit because I'm with a girl and she just crash out and pop off or whatever. You feel me? Now you dragged into something. And then vice versa. You might drag her into something she ain't got no business being a part of. Don't nothing good ever come from it.
we really have to start redefining some of these terms, because crashing out is not strength, it's not power, it is not being solid. It's really just a person who does not have emotional self-control. You know, low-key, I think another huge aspect of this conversation is that a lot of young people look at a normal life like it's boring. Wake up, work, gym, eat, chill, repeat, work on your passions, build something slowly, stay out the way, not always being outside, not always being in the scene, not always being active, not always being around the next thing. And it feels like a lot of people with this mindset look at a normal, stress-free, drama-free life like that is the prison, when really that life is the very thing keeping you free. And I'm not even just talking about prison literally. I'm talking about being trapped in chaos, trapped in bad decisions, and stuck around people who keep pulling you into situations that do not add anything to your life.
You also be less stressed. Way less stressed, I can guarantee you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you have to be able to say, nah, I'm not pulling up to that function, because every function with y'all comes with dysfunction. But obviously a huge part of this is social media. You are constantly exposed to everybody's highlight reel, and then you compare that to your regular life. So now your regular life starts feeling boring, even though that regular life is the blessing. And that's why I say a lot of young people look at a normal life like it's holding them back. They look at routine like it's holding them back. They look at discipline like it's holding them back. They look at staying out the way like they're missing out. You're not missing out on a damn thing. Sometimes the move is not even engaging, because in reality that normal life is the freedom. The real trap is chasing a life that looks exciting for a moment, but eventually locks you into consequences you cannot escape. The real trap is when the boring life you ran from becomes the life you wish you could get back. And if you're watching this and you're around people who keep pulling you into situations you know are not good for you, I'm not saying this to judge you. I'm saying this because sometimes you already know. You know when a situation feels off. You know when the people around you are moving reckless. You know when your gut is telling you, I should not be here. That feeling is not random. Sometimes your body, or your spirit, if you want to call it that, knows a situation is wrong before your pride is ready to admit it. And a lot of times, valuing your freedom starts with listening to that feeling before life forces you to listen. Because somewhere in the world, somebody's standing in one of those moments right now, around the wrong people, reacting to disrespect, getting in a car they should not get in, or making a decision that feels small but will follow them for years. There are mistakes you can come back from, and then there are mistakes you cannot just undo. So when I say young people don't value freedom anymore, I'm not saying every young person is lost. Actually, I think most people in general are just good people. I'm saying too many people are treating freedom like something they can gamble with. But freedom has a price. That price is self-control, discipline, walking away when your pride wants to stay, and being able to say, this is not worth the rest of my life. Because freedom is one of those things people do not value until they lose it. And I think that is really the bigger conversation here. Not just about Sean, not just about Carmelo, not just one case or one headline or one viral clip. It is the fact that so many of these stories came down to one moment where somebody could have walked away but didn't. And once that moment passes, everything changes. But that's just what I personally think. What do you guys think? Do you think
it's unfortunate that to see, my people have to go through this? You know what I'm saying? Y'all gotta learn from other people's mistakes. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of examples out there to where you should be able to decide and see for yourself on why you shouldn't go down the same route, because ultimately you will get the same results. So whenever it comes down to whatever you want in life, or anything at all, period, Just look at all the examples out there of the people doing the same things. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to end up exactly like how they did? And if not, don't go down that road, bro. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I'll see y'all on the next one, bro. Hey, if you like the video, then like the video. And if you want to see more reactions, subscribe. I love y'all.
Shout out to my twin. Ain't never seen tears from a gangster, so why the world want me to cry? Fighting depression, talk to them spirits, use them judges that help me get by. But I cannot lie, yeah, that shit hurt me bad when I got that call, told me you died. Like how the fuck can they take you? Man, I hope I wake up, it's a lie.